Thanks for joining us this afternoon for an impromptu WPN webinar. We're excited to have an opportunity to share with all of you more about the Education and Training Voucher program and to share some of the changes that have happened with the additional funds Washington State received. My name's Donna Quach. I'm with the College Success Foundation and I have the pleasure of serving as the program manager for the Washington Passport Network. So I do want to note that this session is being recorded right now, and after the session, folks will have access to view the, and then also the PowerPoint will be shared on the web. So if you need to go back and review some things, or you can feel free to share this with your colleague. So this afternoon, we have with us Chafee Ramsay and Victoria Ackerman from the Education and Training Program from DCYF, who will kind of go over an overview of the ETV program, just so folks have a frame and understanding of the basic eligibility for the program. And then they're going to go into providing more details on the temporary changes for the program due to the new federal legislation that passed, and that meant that states received additional funds for ETV. I do want to note that for Chafee and Victoria's presentation, it is focused on the implementation for young people who are part of DCYF. And we also have Molly Daggett here from DSHS, who is available to answer questions about how these funds will, or the additional funds are available and will affect young people who are in federal foster care. So just wanted to note that, because we did see in the registration that folks had some questions about how this will work for URM students. All right, so I'm gonna hand it off to you, Chafee, and I'll monitor the chat if any kind of questions come up and let you know.
Great, thank you.
Thanks.
So good afternoon, everybody. Thanks to Washington Passport Network for allowing us to do this presentation. I'm Chafee Ramsay. I'm the Education and Training Voucher Program Manager. Victoria, do you want to introduce yourself? She just went off camera, but.
Video. There we go. I'm Victoria Ackerman, and I help with the coordination of the statewide program, and I'm happy to be here today.
All right, so we're going to volley back and forth. We're going to do the entire PowerPoint because other people may be viewing this and the YouTube video and don't know anything about ETV. So bear with us if you are experts already about this. We'll go through it pretty quickly. All right, let's start. So ETV provides financial assistance to eligible students to attend an accredited college or university, folk school, or technical school. Typically, the maximum ETV award is $5,000, as most of you know, but for a short time, that amount will go up. And we'll go into that in a little while. Also, awards are unique to each individual student, and it's determined based on their unmet need. After the COA and financial aid is determined, whatever is left remaining, ETV can assist. And another thing to keep in mind is ETV can be used if attending college in another state. We also receive applications from students from outside of the state of Washington, and they're living here and attending school here. As long as we get a letter from that state saying that, yes, the student is eligible and they would be eligible for ETV, but that state is not going to serve them, we can serve them. So we never want to say no to a student in their post-secondary education.
So ETV eligibility can be confusing, and the first thing we see out of the gate is that that's what Chafee and I do on a daily basis. We take in applications, we look at eligibility, and we'll be looking for students to participate in our program. And these are Chafee rules. These are not our rules or even Washington State. It's a federal guideline program that the students are 16 to 20. So that includes the Running Start folks. 20 years old is the cutoff in the sense of you need to receive funds from us before turning age 21. We've been able to extend the program, and we'll get to talk about that, to older, but the 21 rule continues to be the rule. So they have, they've been in the care and custody, as Donna said, of DCYF, and they're not, they can be adopted after age 16. So again, they wake up in foster care on their 16th birthday, or in a relative placement, but under a dependency, they are eligible for our program. We do have one other stipulation, that you need to receive funds from us before 21, and you can continue with us until you've used a total of 15 semesters or 20 quarters. And so that happens at times, especially if you started with us as a Running Start student. So we keep an eye on that. It's not up to you to have to track that, or the student. We'll keep an eye on that and talk with them about steady progression and getting through to get that bachelor's degree, is if that's their goal. So other recommendations, that in order to receive funds, we've already covered that one. You must be eligible for aid and have an unmet need. So there's kind of a math thing where you take the cost of attendance, you take out the financial aid has been offered that student, and that's, you're left with that unmet need. And then we'll get into some better, or some more assistance after we get that down to the COVID slides. So we do like to see them, they need to be in half time at least, that's 6 credits or more, and that they are taking at least 100 level course, and they maintain satisfactory progress, and just keep a hold of that financial aid. And we'll talk about some helps if they do happen to lose their financial aid.
One of the questions that we've had before about eligibility is students who return home to a parent. And unfortunately, those students are not eligible for ETV. We'd love to see that change, but as of this writing, they're still not allowed to be eligible for our program. So COVID response has kind of really changed how we do business. This slide, we had to do a presentation to our secretary about what we were doing for COVID-19. We have a database that we keep track of all our students and all their information. And in that is their current address, their phone numbers, their emails. And that allowed us to stay in contact with our students during the pandemic when things were in total disarray. We contacted all of them, making sure that they were okay. If they needed any assistance, we helped them navigate resources, told them where to, where they could get services, so offered support, that sort of thing. We continue to participate in shared planning meetings with students. We've seen a big increase in students using their ETV dollars to purchase electronics such as printers and cables and laptops and that sort of thing, due to being online classes. A lot of students didn't have printers, so they spent some funds on that. We also, unfortunately, some students are deferring their enrollment this year. They just don't want to do the online classes. That's just not for them. So hopefully we get them back next year. We're going to be reaching out to all of the students that apply to our program and see what's going on, and hopefully we can get them back engaged. And then we continue to cultivate relationships with school staff and social workers and IL providers and DSSs. Unfortunately, we weren't able to do in-person contacts like we did the previous year. We went to at least 13 colleges and universities and voc schools and met with DSSs and students, which was really valuable. Hopefully this coming school year, we'll be able to do that again.
Important deadlines that we like to review with folks is that, and these deadlines are for the students, and of course all of you on this call have a invested interest in their success. So from whatever venue you're coming from, whatever your whatever your job role might be, helping them with these deadlines is really crucial. So January 1, our application goes live each year. We send an email out, even though it's a holiday, we send it, so it goes out on the 1st of January, welcome to the new year. Here's our application, here's a link. All of our things are still placed on the independence.wa.gov, that's at the bottom of the slide. So that's where you find many of our forms. Some of them are not on there. You need to contact us. April 30th is just right around the corner. Here we come into it, the ETV priority deadline. And that's a place where we've been able to commit that everybody who applies by April 30th will receive funds. If we needed to in the future, we haven't needed to yet, we would start a waiting list, and then we would see how is it going, who's utilizing funds, and then go back around. And like I said, we haven't, we had a list, but we were able to pretty much keep it short and meet everyone's need since I've been doing this for 5 years. So that's a good thing, but I think we need to continue to grow. So we use all our money. July 31st, ETV application closes, and a little asterisk on there that it's never too late to send it in. If it's too late, we can tell you. It's, you know, the ship has sailed, but we haven't had to do that. So we don't want you to see these deadlines as hard and fast things. Always go ahead and send it in and let us look at eligibility and reach out to students and their support people. And then October 1 is, most of you, of course, know and live in this world, that the FAFSA has changed for the next academic school year. So we encourage our students, even in their current year, to get that done so they're ready for the upcoming year. So, and we love the online application. I put a thing on there. It's sometimes really hard to read their writing. I call students because I can't read their email address, or I call their support people to find out stuff. So it's as many online applications or typed. Kathy and I can send the applications to any of you or to the students as well. We can just attach them electronically to an email. Like Kathy said, a lot of the students are printing. We're able to, we're accepting signatures typed in there. So we're trying to remove barriers to getting accurate information and getting more students through.
This slide just basically talks about how students receive their funds. We went from a reimbursement model, as you probably know, which was a nightmare for students and us. And now we do a disbursement model where the funds are sent directly to students on a quarterly or semester basis. And the students either receive a check in the mail or they sign up for direct deposit. We definitely prefer direct deposit, since we all know students can move multiple times during a semester or a quarter. And we don't want funds to get lost if it's sent by check. So when you're working with students, if you can put a plug in to have them do direct deposit, that would be awesome. They have to go through a payee registration process. That's through OFM, the Office of Financial Management. It's tedious and it takes a long time, but that's basically what they have to do in order to get in our vendor system and in order to get that check in the mail or the direct deposit. And then the last thing that students have to do before they actually get funds in their account or a check is that once we get the necessary paperwork, their schedules and their grades, they have to submit an ETV spending plan, which then they have to sign and basically tell us how they plan to use their funds. Once we get that back from them, then they can get their money. And we just want to say that this does not apply to our Running Start students. They still have a reimbursement model. So they have to send in a payment request form to us along with receipts. And Victoria will talk more about Running Start.
Okay, so our Running Start students, we don't have any calculations because they are not in that college post-academic place. So they get a flat rate of $2,000 divided up over 3 quarters. And some of the suggestions are things that are going to support them to maintain school. We pay for tires and gas receipts are reimbursed, school fees. A lot of book supplies and school fees is a real common one. And then we also, of course, computers and printers and things like that. Some students will delay using their funds because they roll into the next quarter because they want to purchase a larger item. We can't front load it and give them the whole $2,000 in reimbursements, but we can roll those funds into the next quarter. They basically save up. We have a partnership with Amazon. And so that's that's been a fabulous relationship because they just send us their wish list. screenshots, however they send it. And then we order on their behalf with their funds and with their permission. We had to get some special signatures and things like that. So confidentiality was preserved for our students. But then the item is sent directly to their home, their dorm, wherever they reside. So that's been positive because they don't need to have the money up front. And then, like, we've had students say, "Grandma, can I borrow $1,000? I need to buy a computer. I'm good for it. I'll get the money back with a receipt." And, you know, I've talked to some grandmas and to some caregivers. So this is a much more direct way for them to get their shopping done. So direct payments are receipts where we reimburse. The vendor system could be for our younger students. It could be their caregiver. That's perfectly fine. And some of them choose to do that. Others, it's a great time for them to get their first checking account and do a direct deposit and, you know, and go that route. So we are very, I'm not talking very good today. We need more dual credit students. That's what I'm trying to say. We think that Chafee one time did a kind of a survey, asked around, and there was just hundreds of them. We're like, where are they? Why can't, you know, our foster youth that are utilizing Running Start, we need to find them and add them to the program.
Not going to take much time on this slide. It's just showing the available opportunities scholarship-wise that our foster youth can take advantage of. I think the main message here is that there is a lot of resources for our students. So please let them know that post-secondary education is definitely possible for them. Money should never be a barrier because there are many things that many scholarships, grants that they can take advantage of.
So we've really taken great strides to get surveys out, to ask students when we would present together, when we used to go to conferences together and do those kinds of things. We're in the middle of a student survey right now. So far, what we've learned is that they really appreciated moving from that disbursement, the reimbursement over to disbursement. They applauded that. And of course, it's removed serious barriers to getting those funds to them. We moved to screenshots. Sometimes we get some really cute ones in the bathroom with the curtain behind them and they're holding up their grades or whatever. So if we can read it and save it, we'll take it. So pre-COVID, we're working to always increase our face-to-face meetings. That of course has taken a standstill, and hopefully when things are in a better place, we can get back to doing some of that. So e-signatures on the ETV spending plan, that was something we needed to really work with fiscal, and they've allowed that. And that removes it. That's again, printing, to print something, sign it and scan it and send it back is a lot. We don't even have to do that when we buy a house these days. So why do our students need to go to such great lengths to get their funds? So we're trying to remove barriers. And then finally, we would love and dream of the day that we can have a student portal. And maybe it'll be our whole AP division. Maybe it'll be just ETV. We're not sure. We're talking with developers and trying to find our way and pull that funding together. So there's a platform where they can save their stuff. They log in, and not only can they access all of our things, but they can save things that they're going to need. So at that, that time they need the copy of that birth certificate, they've uploaded it, or we were able to do that for them, or their social worker did. So that's a future dream that we hope happens before we retire.
So I did see a question pop up about e-signatures on the applications, and students can just type their name on the application. We're okay with that. They can e-sign, but type name is fine. The e-signature was that was what fiscal said that we could do rather than having a wet signature, a handwritten signature. So, but that's not necessary for the application. Okay, so now we get into all the changes. And basically, it's federal legislation that came about due to the pandemic and the federal government wanting to continue supporting foster youth and families. And that's what the act is called, Supporting Foster Youth and Families Through the Pandemic Act. And basically it allows for some flexibility and some temporary changes that we've already alluded to. But for fiscal year 2020 and 2021, ETV can be, youth can be eligible for ETV up until the age of 27. So they increased it by a year. But as Victoria stated earlier, only if the student received and used funds prior to turning 21. That requirement has not changed. So it's crucial that students spend their funds, even if they do it for 1 quarter or 1 semester, and then they decide they need to take a break. As long as they do that before 21, they'll be good up until age 27. And then when it goes back to age 26. So we could really use some help with that. We've gotten students who are turning 21 in a month. And so we work really closely with social workers or IL folks or Treehouse to make sure that we can get them some sort of money before that magical age of 21. So we never want to turn student down or away from the program. The big thing that's changed is the maximum award amount. So as you can see, from October 1st, 2020 to September 30th, 2022, the award increases from $5,000 to $12,000. Big jump. It's incredible, actually. So we've been trying to get the word out through other presentations. So I'm glad so many of you are on the webinar today, so you can pass that information on. And then there's suspension of certain requirements. So even if a student has lost financial aid due to grades or whatever, we can still assist them from April 1st, 2020 through September 30th, 2021. So we're getting close to that deadline. So we have a few students that we're working with now that they fall into that category. So we're going to be working with them to see how we can further assist them. It allows for ETV funding for expenses that are not part of the COA. And those are like, if they had to, since classes are online, they needed earphones or desks or chairs to create like a dorm room or an office space. They're able to use their funds for that, which normally they weren't be allowed to. They can use it for cell phone data cards, routers, Wi-Fi extenders. So anything that allows them to still be successful in school, to continue working in school, we can now let them spend some money on. So that's really important.
I see in the chat, this next slide, Renee, will probably answer your question because it is more than just this current year. It's going into the next year. And then maybe Molly wants to answer the part about federal foster care whenever Kathy and Donna think that's a good time. So let's look at this grid that we just took a snapshot right out of the act that came to us, and the timeframes are listed there. So kind of what Kathy just said, but maybe in a different view. So it is for this year, the 5 to 12,000, and for next academic year. So that's exciting that we're doing this hurry up and let's assist students right now. And we'll talk about how we've triaged that. And then we get to future plan and find out how are we going to be extending this, and that's going to be based on their actual COA for next year. So that we have the little wiggle room this year that's ending soon, and then it will look a little different for next year. So, and the other one about the wiggle room, it's exciting that even if because of COVID or life, or one of our students, their mom passed and they pulled out of school, lost financial aid, we still can be there to help them. And normally we cannot. They lose financial aid and they lose ETV. So that's pretty cool that because of the times that we're facing, that our students are facing, we can offer that. So Yeah, they just want to support youth and to remain enrolled in post-secondary, all the expenses that might not be part of that COA. So kind of the same thing that was explained, and we hope it's clear as we go through each slide and keep asking. So do we want to keep going with that, or answer the federal question? What would you like, Kathy?
Molly, are you able to talk about the?
Sure, absolutely. In short, we hope so, yes. The unaccompanied refugee minor program is, our policies are based on of course, the federal statute and locally the DCYF policies, but we're also bound by our contracts, which those are based on the federal guidelines from the Office of Refugee Resettlement. So we're trying to coordinate both keeping up with mirroring as closely as possible what DCYF is doing, but also there are certain things we're able to do and certain things we're not. And basically right now we're negotiating with ORR to get a waiver and be able to offer these same flexibilities. So it's not in place right now, but we hope to be able to mirror these same pieces that are allowed.
Okay, thank you for that.
Sure.
So here's our plan to contact our students. We had to figure out what makes the most sense. So so myself and Victoria, we're going to call, email, and or text our students in the following order. We have many students, many active students who had a remaining unmet need after they were awarded their money, their $5,000. And so we're reaching out to them first. Victoria and I are dividing it up by regions. So I'm taking regions 1, 2, 3, and 6, and Victoria's taking regions 4 and 5. So we're contacting students directly, saying, hey, we can award you additional funds because you still have an unmet need. And it's been pretty amazing phone conversations with them. They're so appreciative and so happy, and they have plans in place about how they're going to use their funds. I do want to say that before they can get the funds, we need to do some things on our end with regards to how we're going to pay them. We have to update our database, making sure that we have the correct program index code and allocation code, all of that stuff, so that we're taking the funds out of the right category. So there's still a couple things to iron out, but we're hoping that students will start receiving these extra funds within the next couple of weeks. That's the goal. But we've started contacting them irregardless and getting their spending plans. So students, for the most part, have been really, really responsive to us when they know that there's available funding. But we may be reaching out to you guys if you're working with students to say, hey, could you get in contact with them, or tell them to get in contact with us, Victoria and I, so that we can talk to them about their some additional funds. So it's been pretty good so far. The next group of students are those active students with no remaining unmet need, to see if something has happened during this academic year that maybe their COA could increase based on what was going on, or their needs. So you may be getting some calls or some emails from students saying to see if that's a possibility, because if their COA goes up, then their unmet need will change, and we can assist them further. So we're hoping that that's a possibility. I do want to be clear that this is, and this comes from my federal partner, that this is not just free money. We just can't give $12,000 to students because we want to. I would love to do that, but they have to have an unmet need in order for us to assist them further. The third group is students that have yet to complete all their paperwork. and we call them incomplete status, we're going to be reaching out to them and saying, hey, what's going on? Hopefully they'll respond. We'll contact IL folks if they have a treehouse worker listed, social worker, whoever, to say, hey, we can still work with you, and you may be eligible for additional funds, but we need you to get involved in the program. And there's a lengthy list of these students, so that's going to take up a lot of our time, I think. Then we have a group of students that have re-entered extended foster care. And the caveat with this is that they had to have received funds prior to turning 21 in order to re-engage back into ETV. So I have a list, and I'll be contacting those students to see if they're not currently involved in our program. And there's quite a few that aren't. See what happens, see if we can get them signed up so that, again, they could be get some additional funds as well as their regular ETV funds. And then the last group is students that are currently inactive, but now maybe they'll qualify. We can't do things like for mental health reasons if they left school, or I don't know, other personal issues. But if it was financially related or school related, then maybe we can work with them about getting those funds. But at this point, that's a really small group of students. So we'll see how that goes. But anyhow, that's our method for how we're going to contact the students and hopefully spend all of this money. It's about $1.2 million extra that's coming in with this grant. So it's a lot of money. So I do want to say to encourage students to sign up for ETV, because we will be able to the cost of attendance will definitely and just the aid will be there for next year. And one of the things that we're talking to students about is not accepting any loans until they know what ETV can award them. So when I'm speaking with students, and Victoria's doing the same, we're saying don't accept loans until you know what ETV can give you. So we'll see where that goes. But that's and this is the last slide. Victoria, do you want to this is just who we are and the website where you can find information about ETV. Eventually this is going to go away, and we're going to be doing other things, and so we'll let people know once independence.wa.gov goes away, and that should say GOV, not go, unless it's off. Does it say GOV? Okay. Well, it's going to go away. So but anyhow, so that's what we know about the program. It took a while to get information from the feds. We're still learning as we go, but the bottom line is our supervisor is saying we want to be as flexible as we can with regards to these funds. We want students to get the resources and the funds so that they can hopefully stay in school and not have money be a barrier for them to continue on with their education. So that's our presentation. So thanks for allowing us this time. And questions, I guess. I've been kind of monitoring, but not really.
Yeah.
As I see them pop up or whatever, but.
Yeah, well, first, thank you, Kathy and Victoria, for taking time to build this presentation and to present to the Washington Passport Network. You know, there's a lot of good information there. So again, this slide deck will be made available to folks who have registered, and then we'll also post it on our WPN website later this week. And then, so we do have a couple of questions that have come through. The first one is from Rosemary, and she's wondering how are you getting the unmet need information?
Based on their financial aid award letter?
I think that it's kind of confusing, at least it is for me. The first batch of funds that we get to, it's different. The first batch we're dealing with right now, it's not based, I mean, it is based on COA, but it's after our 5,000. So, and the next batch of funds, it's going to be that cost of attendance is the one and only. We won't be looking for other things outside of the normal ETV funding. So again, it always, like Kathy said, goes back to their cost of attendance and then minus their financial aid out of that and see what that unmet need is. So we depend on our school partners, our financial aid partners to provide that.
And the goal is we're gonna try to front load funding in fall quarter, because we wanna make sure that students get the assistance right away. So like if they have an unmet need of $5,000 or $12,000 based on after their COA and their financial aid, we're able to give them that $12,000. We're going to try to front load as much of those funds as possible into fall quarter, just in case something changes. You know, I'd rather give the students the money sooner rather than later. Right now it's later because this hasn't been going for very long. So, and we're still trying to figure it all out. But once we have the system in place, once the database is revised, that's the plan for next year, is to front load those extra funds into fall quarter.
And I see Renee's question. Most definitely, we would take that lump amount and divide it amongst whatever quarters are attending. It could be, all 3 quarters and a summer. But that doesn't apply to our Running Start students. Everything we've been talking about does not apply with the changes, and Running Start we can't fund them over the summer months.
I do see Laura has her hand up.
Thank you both. I appreciate that, but to make sure I'm picking up what you were just saying there, Victoria and Kathy, that the initial 5,000 is still going to be part of the COA, the financial aid budget in the room. That additional up to the 12,000, at one time I heard it wasn't going against or needing to be calculated into that. So what I'm saying, I'm hearing is the first 5,000, you are going to be looking at the cost of attendance, the financial aid budget, what they receive for Pell, for state, for passport, and then award ETV. Then after that, if there's still room or no room, the unmet need has been met, you are still going to be able to award them funds?
No, if there is no unmet need after the initial ETV award, then they don't get any additional funds.
So all of this is still going to be based upon unmet need within the financial aid budget.
Right. So yes, exactly. So just like this year, not every student gets the whole $5,000. Right. And so that's when we triaged it, that's that second bunch of students that I talked about. So they have no unmet need. What we awarded them this year covered their cost of attendance. But what we're going to be asking is, did you have other things? We're going to suggest that they contact their financial aid people. If they have additional needs that it's not covered under their COA currently, and if their COA can be increased, we want that to happen. So that was my point, is that you may be hearing from students saying, hey, is there any way, this is what's happened to me during the pandemic. I have these additional needs. Can you assist? And if their COA changes, then their unmet need would change, and then we could assist them further. If not, then it's still a 0, then they're out of luck for this year, for this academic year. Maybe next year things will be different. and they can get more of their, more of the dollars.
Right. That helps a lot. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yep.
Hello. Yes. Thank
Oh,
you. That
hi.
helped tremendously. I appreciate that.
Good to see you, Rosie.
And very nice to see you. Sorry.
We talk all the time, sorry.
Exactly.
Or
So,
email all the time.
exactly. So I'm her thorn in her side. So
No,
I
you're not. No,
apologize for that.
No, you're not.
But when you state, I totally get everything and I appreciate that. And that's amazing for the students to get that extra funding. My concern would be is who's going to be responsible to get that information to you? Because as you know, Kathy, we've had a student who, I don't know what award letter he gave you, but it didn't match anything that I had put on the system. So students are going to self-identify with this information, or are you going to reach out to us and say, hey, I have the students who's going to go to Eastern, can you send me a copy of the award?
Well, and that's why we send the ETV award letters to you guys. So hopefully you're receiving them, because I'm sending them to you.
I haven't received any yet, but yeah. For
You haven't
year.
received any this year?
Oh, for this year, yeah, sorry.
Oh, yeah.
I'm on next year already.
Oh, okay. So the same thing would apply. And then when I send those, if it's different, then you need to tell me.
Okay.
Because sometimes they get confused. So I'm not gonna lie, or they haven't, all their aid isn't on their financial aid letter yet. So we send the ETV award letter to the financial aid and the DSSs, and if they're and I hear from people saying, nope, that's not correct, it's too low or it's too high or whatever, and then we make our changes, and then we revise the ETV award and send that to you and the students again. And if it happens really quickly and they've already received their funds based on incorrect information, then what we do is then we have to then revise how they're going to get their winter and spring funds, because we can't go over over $5,000, or now $12,000. But so you would see that. So they may get 1667, for fall quarter, and then in winter and spring quarter they only get 1,000 because their unmet need was wrong that they gave us.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So please, if what we're sending you doesn't look right, let us know so that we can revise the award letter and we can get it right. Because what I don't want is students have to pay us back. We never want them to have to pay give us money back. So I'd rather take care of things at the very beginning than having them use funds and then we say, oops, there was an error and now you owe us money.
And then just as sorry, not trying to monopolize, but I guess I am.
No, you're good.
The other thing is not necessarily increasing their cost of attendance, but maybe increasing their unmet needs. So if there's been a change of income situation, also encourage that out.
Right. Yes. Thank you. Much better way of saying that. And I know that's happened to many of our students. They've lost jobs or they've had to take jobs that didn't pay what their original job was. I just spoke with a student just yesterday about, she had a job and now she's an Uber driver and she's not making it because of that. So yes, thank you, Rosie. So anyhow, I guess the moral of this story is be prepared. We don't have a lot of students that have zero unmet need after ETV, but you may be contacted. So we appreciate your support on that and working with us so that we can further assist our kids, young adults.
Any other questions for both Kathy and Victoria, or even for Molly as well, if you have a question regarding how this might impact youth in federal foster care? Oh, we have a question from Cole.
Oh, yeah.
Did I catch the list of dates that application
Yes,
deadline is?
Colleen, yes, you did. It's the priority deadline is tomorrow. But as we said, we never say we have extra money. So I don't think the press is there to get it in necessarily like tomorrow if students just can't do it. We will start the waiting list though, just so that we can keep track. But
Yeah, it
yes,
is.
Colleen, that is both new and renewals.
Renewal is a lot easier and a lot quicker because it's not as much information, but yeah, it's the same deadline.
But like we said, we're pretty sure we can serve everybody. It would just be, and we set those, and those are our deadlines just because we don't want to, you know, them all coming in at one time, because it's really time consuming to get applications and put them in the database. That's one of Victoria's jobs, and she spends a lot of time doing that. And so it gets overwhelming if like 30 of them come in at once. So that's kind of why we break it up. But we hope one day to actually have a waiting list where so many students apply by April 30th that we do need to actually keep that list. But we're pretty confident we can serve kids next year. So please have them send their apps in.
All right, if there aren't any more questions at this time, we'll just wrap things up. And of course, you can reach out to Chafee and Victoria on your own. Their contact information is included in the last slide of the PowerPoint, which again, we'll send out later this week along with the recording.
And I just want to say thank you for, you know, the partnerships that we've developed through the years. You make our jobs a lot easier, and I appreciate us working together for the well-being of our students that we share. And please, you know, pass the information on about ETV. We know that we're not serving every student that would be eligible for the program.
Mm-hmm.
No matter how hard we outreach, we're still missing students. So we don't want to do that. Every youth in foster care who wants to go to college has this available to them. So we need you.
Absolutely. And thank you all for helping to get students connected to this program, because we do know there's additional funding through FY22, and Chafee and Victoria are here to support as long as they know that the students are out there. So please get them, you know, support them with the application or with renewal. And if they have specific questions, connect them directly to the ETV team.
Also, if you have students that you think may be eligible and you're not sure, send us. I mean, UDSS is out there. Please go ahead and send us names, because we check and we say, yeah, they're eligible, but we don't have an app. So we're more than willing to check on your students, and we'll let you know whether they're eligible and whether we have them already in the program. So, and if not, get it to us.
Chafee, I just want to say thank you to you and Victoria. Again, you've been so helpful to us with unaccompanied refugee minors and just keeping me informed and answering my questions, so that we can try to make sure we're offering the same array of services as much as possible on the unaccompanied minor side. So thank you again.
You're welcome, and I hope you get that money, because
yes, I think we're going to be able to get waivers as well. And
awesome, yeah,
it's just a slightly different process.
Students. Yeah.
Yes.
All right, I do see folks hopping off, so we'll end it here.
Right.
Again, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you, Chafee and Victoria, for all of your time and hard work on getting the word out. All right, see you next month for the next WPN webinar. Take care.
Bye, Claire.